ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, September the 22nd. Quite an active tropical scene now, not only in the Atlantic basin, but also in the Pacific Ocean. The western part of the Pacific Ocean that has been very quiet up to now has a super typhoon that is impacting the Philippines, and it is a major hurricane out there in the western Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic, we have Hurricane Gabrielle. It's about to make a sharp right turn out into the open waters of the central Atlantic, and there are at least two other strong tropical waves that we'll have to monitor over the next several days, potentially a third and a fourth as well here. We'll take a look at the satellite imagery in a moment, and it again is very active in the Atlantic basin. First of all, here is the map from NOAA's National Hurricane Center of the current locations of these tropical systems. This is Hurricane Gabrielle. Latest observation has sustained winds, maximum sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. It is about to make a sharp right turn here out over the open waters of the central Atlantic. Could actually climb all the way up to Category 3 major hurricane status as it makes this turn out to the north and east. Meanwhile, another wave off to its southeast, and then yet an additional wave off to the southeast here. And we'll take a look at the satellite imagery now. There may even be a third and a fourth tropical wave that we'll have to monitor over the next several days. Well, here's the latest satellite imagery loop from the Goes East satellite, and it starts off with some infrared images, then transitions over to visible images as the sun comes up off from east to west. First of all, here is the location of Hurricane Gabrielle. Again, 90 mile per hour maximum sustained winds right now. A very healthy looking storm system. Looks like it could become a major hurricane, a Category 3 shortly in the near term here, and it's getting ready to turn sharply to the right here, and it will end up out over the open waters of the central Atlantic over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, you can see kind of a circular pattern right here. That is another tropical wave. It's rather close to Gabrielle, but this is another system that we'll have to watch. And yet a third system out here over the south central Atlantic Ocean here. Another wave, healthy looking wave right here, and all the way to the far eastern Atlantic, yet another tropical wave. This is the west coast of Africa right here. This is just moved off the west coast of Africa. So in addition to Gabrielle, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tropical waves we'll have to monitor over the next several days. Again, looking like an active time period as we close out the month of September and head on into October. Well, let's walk through last night's 0Z run of the GFS, and we'll first take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly maps. See some of the players on the field here. The very possibly can be a hurricane near the Bahama Islands over the upcoming weekend. We'll talk about some of the factors involved right now. There's so many tropical waves out there. It's kind of hard to decipher exactly where these will end up going. But let's take a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly pattern right now. And we're starting off with a lot of orange here across the central part of Canada into the southeastern part of Canada, suggesting higher heights than normal, higher pressures than normal. There's a little bit of a reflection here of Gabrielle. This is Bermuda, by the way. This little dot right here represents the island of Bermuda, and Gabrielle is about to turn away from Bermuda sharply to the east-northeast here over the next few hours. Now, let's push forward in time and watch what happens. There goes Gabrielle off to the east, and here we go into the middle part of the week. Very strong ridging over the Hudson Bay region of Canada by midweek. Meanwhile, down across the middle part of the U.S., strong upper-level trough for this time of the year will head to the east, and this could represent a bona fide soaking rain event in the Mid-Atlantic region, let's say from Wednesday night into the day on Friday. We'll talk about that more in a moment here, but a cold front slides through the Mid-Atlantic region late tonight, early on Tuesday, then stalls out, and low pressure backed up, supported by this upper-level trough, will form along that frontal boundary zone, potentially leading to a soaking rain event, which has been rare indeed over the past several months for the Mid-Atlantic region. During the second half of the week, we're talking about Wednesday night, maybe into the day on Friday. Now let's move forward in time here. Here we go into the latter part of the week and finally into the end of the week again. Strong upper level trough here, now positioned over the south central part of the U.S. and southern Mississippi Valley region. That is a key player here. The timing of this certainly can play a role in what the GFS from last night has as a potentially a hurricane right near the Bahamas by the beginning part of the upcoming weekend. Now, in this particular model run, the GFS heads back to the north towards the Outer Banks of Carolinas. Of course, something that would have to be closely monitoring, and it will depend on the interaction between this strong upper level trough and that tropical system here as we get into the middle latter part of the upcoming weekend. Still some ridging, this time centered over the northern plains here by the end of the upcoming weekend. Then we go into the early part of next week. And again, this particular model run of the GFS has this tropical storm or hurricane heading towards the Outer Banks by the latter part of the weekend, early part of next week. I will say right here that other models, such as the Canadian and European model, do not agree with this scenario. They keep that particular tropical system farther to the east, not reaching the U.S. East Coast. In fact, I'll show the Canadian model in a moment here. But this is a week from right now. Strong upper level trough centered over the southeast U.S. And again, that could become a key player, as well as the upper level ridging over the upper Midwest, northern plains by the end of the weekend, early part of next week. Now let's walk through the surface forecast maps. Again, this is using the 0Z run of the GFS. Far to the east here, we have that reflection of Hurricane Gabrielle right here at the surface, and that little dot there. Let me just clear the page here. Let me bring the cursor back here, and here is the island of Bermuda right here, and that's Gabrielle, about to turn sharply to the east here. And we have a frontal system out over the Ohio Valley as we begin the day here on Monday, and that front slides slowly to the south and east over the next couple of days, and it tends to stall out here by the time we get to the middle of the week. Somewhere in this location right in here, there's a stalled out frontal system. Low pressure will form at the surface and move along that frontal boundary zone. And we saw that surface low pressure area will have support in the upper part of the atmosphere. This could lead to a beneficial soaking rain event for the Mid-Atlantic region, let's say from Wednesday night all the way into the day on Friday. And here we go into Wednesday night, Thursday, and here is that rainfall expected for the Mid-Atlantic region into the northeast, a beneficial rainfall indeed. And that has a trailing frontal system all the way down into the southern part of the Mississippi Valley, where that upper level trough ends up by the upcoming weekend. We'll go out a little bit farther out in time, and here is the 0Z run of the GFS with that potential hurricane near the Bahamas by the early part of the upcoming weekend. And in this particular model run, it then moves it north right to the Outer Banks and perilously close to the Mid-Atlantic coastline here by the early part of next week. Again, other models do not favor this scenario. They keep that system farther to the east, away from the U.S. East Coast. Certainly the pattern so far this tropical season has been for tropical systems to curve away from the East Coast before they ever reach there. But this is obviously something we'll have to monitor over the next several days. Now let me wrap up by showing the Canadian model run here, just to show how different it is than that 0Z GFS model run with respect to that potential hurricane near the Bahamas. Here we go into the middle part of the week. Low pressure along that frontal boundary zone. Again, in this particular case, we have a stalled out frontal boundary zone right around in that region right there. Could lead to a beneficial soaking rain event Thursday into Friday, Mid-Atlantic region with that low pressure over that frontal boundary zone. Then that slowly moves to the south and east. And here we go into the early part of the upcoming weekend. This is the Canadian model with respect to that potential hurricane by the early part of the weekend, much farther to the east here. In fact, the Bahamas right here never quite reaches the Bahamas, starts its turn and moves close to Bermuda by the early part of next week. So quite a different story from the Canadian model. The European model also has that tropical system farther to the east compared to the GFS, but it's something just too early to call one way or the other with all these players on the field, especially over the Atlantic Basin in terms of tropical waves. Just too early to say for sure where that system will end up. Cannot assume it will not go far enough west to impact the U.S. East Coast, something we'll monitor over the next few days. So finally, we have a very active tropical scene, not only in the Pacific Ocean, in the Atlantic Basin as well, something we'll monitor closely over the next several days. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.